know how sometimes you see something, maybe just a quick glance on a busy street, and you think you know exactly what's going on? Well, you might realize later that you've completely missed the real story. And today, we're diving into a story that is a perfect example of that.
So, at first glance, what you're about to hear might look like a simple, innocent game. But we have to ask the question, was it really just a game, or was it something much, much more desperate? And that question, well, it's at the very heart of this story.
All right, so let's set the scene. It all starts with one man who noticed something just a little bit out of place during his daily commute. I want you to picture this, a sidewalk, totally packed with people rushing everywhere, right? And in the middle of all that chaos, there's this little girl sitting all by herself. And she's not playing with dolls or anything. She's got these little plastic cups lined up, and they're all filled with dirt. And here's the kicker, her sales pitch. She wasn't just selling dirt. Oh no, she was calling it magic soil. But of course, to everyone else rushing by, it was just dirt. Most people didn't even notice her. Some who did kind of chuckled and just kept walking. So the man who saw her, his first thought was pretty much the same as everyone else's. Okay, this has to be some kind of kid's prank. But there was just something about how serious she looked, how focused she was. It made him stop. And instead of just walking by, he decided to go over and just gently ask her what she was doing. And this, right here, is where the whole story just completely changes. What he learns next is absolutely heartbreaking, and it pulls back the curtain on the magic soil. The little girl starts to explain her situation. It turns out her mom is a single parent, and she works not one, not two, but 3 separate, totally exhausting jobs, all of that just to make ends meet and keep a roof over their heads. And then, just when things were already so tough, disaster struck. Her mom broke her arm, a really bad injury, and it meant she couldn't do any of her jobs. Just like that, their only income was gone. And the fallout from that was immediate, and it was terrifying. They were suddenly facing eviction. This 7-year-old girl was absolutely terrified of losing the only home she'd ever known. So her little game on the sidewalk, it wasn't a game at all. It was a desperate plan that came straight from that fear. And this is the part that'll just get you. This wasn't some trick. With the pure, beautiful innocence that only a child can have, she genuinely believed this dirt was magic. She thought that if she could just sell it, it would somehow magically create enough money to save their home and help her mom. So, hearing this whole story, the man was just deeply moved. He knew he couldn't just pat her on the head and walk away. What he did next was an incredible act of kindness. Instead of telling her dirt isn't magic or giving her a few dollars out of pity, he did something so much better. He played along. He looked at her and said, "Magic soil? I've been looking everywhere for this. I'll buy all of it." He validated her hope. You can imagine the look on her face. She must have been absolutely thrilled. She was probably expecting, a few dollars for all her cups. But the man's plan was on a totally different level. He wasn't just pulling out his wallet. He was reaching for a big envelope. And inside that envelope was this: $10,000. Enough money to completely change their entire world in that one moment. Enough to stop the eviction and give her mom the time she so desperately needed to heal. So what was the real impact of this incredible gesture? I mean, it was so much more than just the money. It was a lifeline. It was hope. As you can probably guess, this act of kindness was just overwhelming. When he gave them the money, both the little girl and her mother just broke down in tears. Not tears of sadness anymore, but tears of pure, unbelievable relief and gratitude. And the impact was so real, so tangible. In that one moment, their home was saved. That constant, terrifying threat of eviction, it just vanished. And maybe most importantly, this girl's mom could finally focus on getting better, without that crushing weight of the world on her shoulders. So this whole story started with a little girl trying to sell magic soil. But it really makes you think, doesn't it? The magic wasn't in the dirt. It was in the kindness of a stranger who actually stopped to listen. It really begs the question, where does true magic really come from?